call the night of New Hampshire, like all the staff, because we're all spread out around the country, was like, okay, let's get on at like 7:55 and we'll wait for results to come in. And then at 8:01, they called it for us. It's like, oh, okay, so we're done? All right, cool, I'll talk to you tomorrow then, all right, bye. And it was awesome, right? The amount of support we had in New Hampshire. But how did we get there, right? We got there through voter contact. We definitely didn't get there through getting a whole bunch of positive media coverage, right, in the media, because that didn't happen. And the talking heads, right, you got your Chris Matthews of the world, your Nick Silvers of the world, right? I hear you. Right, those talking heads are not on our side, right? So we had to fight a bunch of either lack of coverage or not good coverage. And then we eventually came up, and how do we do that? We did that through talking to voters, right? We had tons of staff on the ground in Iowa, tons of staff on the ground in New Hampshire, right? And that is how we actually talked to voters face-to-face at their doors about what's important to them, and that's what really made the difference, right? So, quick question here. Raise your hand if you have donated to this campaign. And people in front, turn around and look behind you. This is amazing, right? That is crazy, basically all the hands. And then one more time, raise your hand if this is the first time you've donated to a campaign or the first time in a long time you've donated to a campaign. Right? Look at that. It's basically pretty much all the hands still. But that is why this is a movement, not just a campaign, right? Just a campaign, you have the same people giving all the same money, you go around, do big fundraisers, you do stuff. But this is the movement. This is why we win, because we bring a whole bunch of new people into the electoral system. This is how we are going to get our goals accomplished, because when we bring all these new folks in, they're not just going to vote for president, they're going to vote for Congress, they're going to vote for state reps and governorships, and all the other things it's going to take to really have real change in this country, right? And that is why, we call it a political revolution, a people-powered movement. That's not just words, that's a real thing. And you see it on the streets, you see it in rooms like this, with a whole bunch of people getting involved to try to get Bernie to the White House. So we did it through voter contact. That's how we did Iowa, that's what we did New Hampshire. And you looked at, and you can see it internally, but as we did more voter contact, we went up in the polls. I mean, it's almost a one-to-one relation of more calls and doors, more doors and calls, higher in the polls, going farther. And then what has happened since Iowa, New Hampshire? Here's another one. Who here, and I'm one of the, I will raise my hand on this one, who here has a friend, a family member, a neighbor, a coworker who says, you know what, I love Bernie. I think I like all his ideas. I think he's right on everything. I think he has all the stuff, but you know what? I just don't think he can win. Right? Look, I mean, that's basically all the hands as well for you in the front. I'm giving you the play-by-play.
You know what you tell those people? You have nothing to lose then by voting for him in the primary.
Right? No, exactly. Well, not even that though. Since Iowa, New Hampshire, right? How did we change that narrative? Right? How do we actually get those people on our side? Well, we did well in Iowa, and afterwards, you had all the talking heads on TV saying, "Wow, hey, this is the shocker. Look, Bernie has a chance." And then we go to New Hampshire and we just destroy it, New Hampshire. And then and then you had Chris Matthews, right, saying, "Well, Bernie's the real deal. This is a real campaign. We're doing real stuff," right? The talking heads are always, 2 or 3 months behind the public, right? And so by winning these early races, how do we win places like California in June? Right, we win it by doing well in these early races, because then we create that opening, right? That Overton window of acceptable speech, right? We expand that open to also all of our friends and coworkers say, you know what, I like him, and I think he can win, and I'm gonna get involved, right? People are normal creatures in that we don't want to put time and energy into something we think is a lost cause, right? And so by doing well in these early states, by doing well in now Nevada and South Carolina, right? So it was great when you heard, we heard people, especially our opponents' campaign, first they're like, well, Bernie's not going to have a shot in Iowa, New Hampshire, so it doesn't matter. And then we started doing better. They said, well, he might be competitive, but there's no way he can win. And then they turned out, well, Iowa, New Hampshire don't matter anymore. It's like, yeah, okay, sure. And now we have the same thing happening in Nevada, right? It's like, oh, well, don't worry. Have you heard of the Clinton firewall, right? It's like, oh, well, we have these states. Bernie can't compete, so it doesn't matter. We're gonna beat him in March 1st. We're gonna beat him in Nevada and South Carolina. It's like, but now, I don't know if you saw, like even Nate Silver on 538 yesterday came out with a new prediction for Nevada, and we're now 50-50 in Nevada. 50%
yeah.
Which was unheard of quite a few months ago. And so it is happening, right? This is the moment, and look, it's goosebumps. This is the moment, right? It is actually happening here in America. And how do we do that? We do that by doing well and bringing all of those neighbors and friends and everybody who says they like him, but they don't think he can win, bringing him in, right? Because he can win, and when we talk to voters about Bernie's ideas, right, people understand that this country is ruled by Wall Street, right? People understand that healthcare, we shouldn't just leave the other 29 million people in America who don't have health insurance. We can't handle $5,000 deductibles, right? That you basically don't, if I have a $5,000 deductible, I might as well not even have insurance, right? I got money to pay for that. Like, awesome, I got hit by a truck, well, look me. I'm just gonna, we'll see you. Don't worry about it. Right? This is the where we're at in America right now. Right? And so we have to make these changes. And when we talk to people about these common sense reforms, right? When you poll America on whether we want to expand Social Security, whether we need to have tuition-free college, right? When we have to have universal health care, these are mainstream ideas. These poll in the 80s and the 90s, right? People love these ideas. And so when we talk to Bernie, when we talk to people about Bernie and about all the great things he's doing, they come on board. They get on board the campaign, they volunteer, they give the money. They give their time. They do everything. I feel a little Marco Rubio right here, right? Marco Rubio, robot Rubio. So that's how we, that's how we win. That's why we did so well in these states, and that's why it's so important that we do well in these early states, right? And so we're doing well in Nevada. When we do well in Nevada, we'll do better in South Carolina. When we defy expectations in South Carolina, we'll do better in all these Super Tuesday states. So on March 1st, 11 states plus American Samoa, I think. That's Puerto Rico. 12 locations vote on March 1st, right? There are thousands of delegates up. This is a delegate battle. There are thousands of delegates up. Oh, thank you, Carrie.
You're amazing. Woo!
You ready? So there are thousands of delegates up on March 1st, right? We have Texas, which has 10 times the amount of delegates of Iowa did, right? We have huge numbers. And so people said, oh, well, Bernie has all these supporters, but they can just do these first two states. They're not going to be able to compete. There's 11 states. You got to have a lot of money. You got to have a lot of people happening. There's just no way he's going to have that kind of infrastructure. Well, guess what? They're totally wrong. When we have as many field offices, if not more, right? Texas alone, there's a great article from a few weeks ago that our billionaire-backed opponents had just hired their first staff members, had opened their first offices. We have 5 offices in Texas, right? We have almost, I think, over 100 staff members in Texas. We have 240 staff members in 10 offices in South Carolina right now, right? This is how you win elections, is field games on the ground, right? Ground game. This is how we win, and we have to compete. Because, when you remember when I asked who donated, everyone raised their hand, right? So our $3, our $2, our $5, our $27, that's what I've been given recently, right? Our $27 donations, this has enabled us to have an organization that's not just competitive in early states, but is going to be competitive all the way through March 1st, through March 15th, when like Ohio and Pennsylvania and all these other states vote, which have a lot of delegates, but all the way through the convention, right? And then all the way through to the White House. All the way through, right? And that's thanks to all of you. So give yourself a round of applause, right? Through our donations, we have proven that, do we need to overturn Citizens United?
Yes.
Yeah, we do.
Oh, yeah.
But also, guess what beats Citizens United? United citizens coming together. Huh?
Yep.
You like that? United citizens coming together and giving a bunch of small donations, right? We can beat the billionaires and millionaire class by coming together. People power, together we win.
Yes.
Right? Together we bring people together, we win elections, we change this country. And so because of all your donations, we've been able to build an infrastructure and build an organization that's going to be competitive, not only on the airwaves and in print and mail and all those other things that you do, but also with just staff and volunteers on the ground in all these March 1st states and in Nevada and South Carolina over the next few days. Nevada is a week from now. Saturday at 11 a.m. they caucus. What a weird time. But it's Nevada. Funny story about Nevada. Remember in Iowa how you get ties, they flipped a coin? Well, in Nevada, they pick a high card out of a deck of cards. Right? True story, obviously. Very Nevada. But that goes back to it, right? We had 6 precincts in Iowa that went to a coin flip, right? If we would have brought out one more person in each one of those precincts, it would not come down to that, right? So field matters and makes a big difference, especially in all these close races we're going to have on March 1st, right? So how do we win? We make calls, we do door knocks, we make a big difference in these early states. So that is, what we're talking about. Okay, one more quick fact I'd like to bring up. On the night Obama won the Iowa caucuses, right? He won and he got his millionth donation. Donation number 1 million on the night he won the Iowa caucuses. To put that in perspective, before we went into New Hampshire, not even counting the $7 million we raised in one day after New Hampshire, which is just crazy. I'm sure you all get money. I get mine 27.
Yep,
And then the
yep,
website was
yep.
freezing, so I probably actually gave like 100 something, because just like, send, oh, crash. But because of all that, we now have 3.5 million individual donations, which is a record for any presidential campaign in the history of America at this point in the race, right? That is incredible. That is an unheard of amount, right? And it's only going to grow from there. But plus, our donors, like all of you and me and Lily, I'm sure, right? We aren't maxed out, right? When you look at our billionaire and billionaire-backed opponents, right? They got to constantly be finding more rich people and more rich people's friends, and like, hey, introduce me to your friends, and introduce your friends, because everybody's writing $2,700 checks, and they're maxed out in the campaign, right? That's not a sustainable model, because you're just continually going back. You can't go back to the same rich people to max out again, right? Whereas all of us, if you raise in $3 and $5 and $10 donations, well, we have a fundraising model that can beat the millionaires and billionaires and can make us competitive in all of these states going forward. So I've worked in this field for about a decade, and I have never seen anything to the scale of this, right? The numbers show it, everything shows it. It's just truly an amazing, inspiring campaign. It's not a campaign, it's a movement, right? It's a revolution, and that's why we're all here. So what do we do? What do we got to do now, right? We did well in Iowa, we destroyed it in New Hampshire, we're coming up in Nevada, right? So we got to do well in Nevada. Once we do well in Nevada, then suddenly you're going to have the Chris Matthews of the world and the other talking heads saying, oh, well, this is the real deal now. Oh, this is actually going to happen, right? The firewall has collapsed, right? And then we do well in Nevada. We're going to bring over a bunch of people who say they like us, but now they can actually vote for us, put their time into us. We'll do well in South Carolina. We'll go into March 1st states. We'll pick up a ton of delegates, right? We'll win some of these states big. We will lose some of these states too. I mean, that is what happens in primaries. But we will cut. It's about delegates now, right? We are in this for the long haul, right? And we're just going to keep racking up delegates. And then what happens? Not only do we bring in more delegates and win more races, we now have, who's heard of superdelegates, right? So all these superdelegates, kind of undemocratic, but it's an argument for another time. But superdelegates are not pledged to a candidate. They may say who they support, but a lot of these are county officials, right? They're local elected officials, and if they think that our opponent's going to win, they don't want to get in trouble in their own seats, right? They don't want to have people turn against them because they don't want to be on the losing side. But once we show that we're going to win, once we show that we are the front runner in the streets, right? Then we're going to have superdelegates coming over. We've already started to see people switching their votes over and coming over to our side, right? So when you see people saying, oh, well, Hillary has all these superdelegates, don't worry about it, right? We're going to get them on our side. We're going to beat them. We're also just going to get more delegates in our regular races. So those 300 some odd people who think they're awesome and they're going to change the world, well, we're going to change the world, and they can get to the side. So we win, right? How do we win?